I realized that a whole generation was lied to. Um, well, to be specific, the kids, like as a child, when I was around about, let's say, 8, 9, 10, coming all the way up to shit, just before I graduated in the early 90s. But you're talking about basically early 80s, 82, 83, going up to roughly about, say, 90, 91. There was this lie um, that teachers always told. As far as I'm concerned, it was a lie. Now I realize. Was it a willful lie, or maybe it was just a perception that they had and, would take time for it to manifest? I don't know. But my thing is, anyway, it proved to be untrue. What it is that teachers often told us that our grades would follow us through life. So one got you would get the opinion, you would feel that, okay, you'd be thinking, well, here I am, 8, 9, 10 years old. I did an exam. Let us say some basic math, and just say I got it wrong. A exam or whatever, and you're feeling okay. You think, well, oh my God, when I become a big man and I go to get a job, it's gonna show up somewhere. There's nothing. Look, that's rubbish. But you're a kid, you don't know any better. And like I say, you grow up. They would say, that it's gonna follow you through school. So when I stop to think of how many young people graduated, a lot of them came out of school, and by the general standards of school, they weren't like, say, A students. And they came out, and they didn't have, let us say, a lot of confidence. Some of them fell behind in different subjects, sometimes because they didn't get a proper foundation in a particular subject. For example, a kid might be going to school and his parents might move, or due to some disruption, he or she ends up in a different school, and it's a disruption. So certain things that they should have picked up, they didn't pick up, or they might move from one country to the next, and the transition and this general disruption of a transition and so on and so forth. But what I'm looking at is that a lot of students or former students come out of school, but through their life, it makes like a psychic imprint on them, where through their entire life, they go through life on the level that they perceive themselves in school. So when they do come out of school, they go through life, and in their mind, they see themselves as the way they saw themselves in school. So in many cases, they might not apply for a job beyond what they think their skill level is, because for whatever reason, their confidence, self confidence may have been eroded for whatever reason. And you will find that uh, it's ironic, because you come up, it's many years later, you're in your 50s, and you realize, wow, A lot of those teachers have passed away. The actual physical schools in many cases have been demolished, completely demolished. All of those school files, all of those records, all of those grades have long been shredded and taken to the dump. What a lot of people don't realize is that the individual grades in the actual papers, in the tests and stuff that students would have submitted, once the teachers logged the grades and got the average up for the say school term, all of those papers would be discarded, and all you would have is a A, B, C, or D on your report card. That's what it would boil down to. The actual tests and what you know, and what you studied on the test and the questions on the test, that's long been discarded, and all you're relegated with is a grade point average on a piece of paper. In many cases, actual school records reports have been long discarded, long discarded, deliberately, by mistake, sometime. Like, for example, in the West Indies, you often have hurricanes that will destroy places that may have even the limited archives of information being completely destroyed. There are students who go to former students who go for their records at school, and they might have a record saying, well, yes, they attended, but there's no grade that they can find. No, there's no grade. Look, even at some colleges, they will put your grades down, and whatever the case may be. And in some cases, after a couple of years, the archives of your grades and the details are actually discarded. And the most they might have in a record is that you attended. So this notion that these detailed records that you would think is following you through life, and in your mind, you've built a picture of your self worth, your image, based on what you perceived your school grades were like, and you're going through life, and it has absolutely no bearing on you in this current time. And if many students, former students, were to take a like sort of uh like really try to find out what records were left, and they realize, oh shit, there's not any detailed description of my schooling, then it would cause them to shed a lot of this negative feeling about themselves. Now, I agree that when one goes that when a student graduates from, say, high school, that they don't have to spend the rest of their lives thinking, well, oh, I didn't do good in high school, so I'm just going to give up and don't do anything else in life, or try to improve my academic knowledge. I'm not saying that they should do that. I would more than support that behavior, of course. Improve yourself, further education. Because education is a thing that is never ending. However, that still don't negate the point that we were deceived in school. You see, and our self image was shaped by what we perceived that we were, as it relates to our grades. You see?